Alienware, a brand that's become synonymous with their interesting design philosophy. You see, how they normally design their PCs is they take a Dell Office system, drop a bunch of components in it that it thermally can't handle, and then stick a bunch of plastic crap to the outside of it so that they can sell it to people who don't know any better for $4,000. So when I found out that not too long ago Alienware launched a line of peripherals with Pro at the end of the name, I had to check it out, just to see if we finally reached the overpriced crap singularity. Now for our set of Alienware peripherals, I'm going to look at the one that I think is the best value first and then move worse from there. Which means the winner of this lineup is the mouse. This is the Alienware Pro Wireless, I think is what it's called, and on paper, it's a real beast. You get a super high resolution sensor, although they are real vague about specifically what sensor that is. Other than that, it can also do 8K Hz polling, although again, that's just wired, which kind of feels like cheating to me. But either way, I think the whole uber high polling rate thing is very much a marketing gimmick. I've been testing it with a Razer mouse for a while now, and in my opinion, the only difference it makes is destroy the battery life of your mouse and leech CPU performance. But maybe the reason I can't feel the difference is because I'm like a 90-year-old man. Let me know what experience you have with it down below. Aside from that, Alienware also brags about how it has very good clicks that only Alienware mice have, and I mean, it's an okay click, but I don't think it's as good as the click on the G Pro, which is... Oh yeah, it's thick. It's also wildly light, weighing less than 60 grams, so it's got that air feeling to it that modern gaming mice have. And honestly, I've been using this mouse for about 4 days now, and it just kind of feels like a modern high-end gaming mouse to me. Sure, I don't like the fact that the DPI button's on the base of the mouse, but other than that, it just feels like a G Pro to me. I don't know if that's because this is just the perfect shape for a gaming mouse to be, or if Alienware has been copying Logitech's homework, but this is very G Pro-y, which makes the price of this thing very interesting. It cost me about 220 Canadian dollars, which is the same as the new Logitech G Pro Super X2 Uber Light Ultra, which isn't a great place for this thing to be price-wise because that Logitech mouse actually has an even higher resolution sensor. Now in the real world, I don't know if that matters, practically it probably doesn't, but it does mean for the same amount of money, you get less EPEAN with this Alienware mouse. And I feel like EPEAN is pretty much the entire reason you're buying this Alienware mouse. And the problem becomes even bigger when you look at the previous gen version of the Super Light X, which you can get for $50 less than this Alienware mouse, and its specs are much more in line with this Alienware one. So yeah, I'd say considering the fact that you can essentially get the same thing for about $50 less makes this overpriced. Officially overpriced. But not quite as overpriced as its brethren. Next up is the keyboard, which they call the Alienware Pro keyboard, and it's pretty nice. It's a 75% mechanical keyboard with Alienware linear switches, so I guess it's their own concoction, with some reasonable double-shot PBT keycaps on top. Although it doesn't have a volume wheel, which pretty much nullifies this keyboard in my opinion. But jokes aside, it's got some interesting features. One of the things I like the most about it is that it has this button on the back where you can switch between the 2.4 GHz dongle and 3 other Bluetooth sources just using that button. That's convenient. And then you also get a nice storage hole for your dongle. Although the base of the keyboard is not the greatest quality plastic, but it makes up for it with a metal backplate, which is actually kind of stupid because of how the keyboard layout works. You'll never interact with it, so you can't really feel the metalness of it. There's also this P button that you can use to cycle between like lighting modes or any personal stuff. And on the note of lighting, this has some of the brightest LED backlight I've seen on a keyboard, so if that's something you're excited about, there you go. And generally, it's the kind of keyboard that if you came from an older mechanical gaming keyboard, you would be very impressed by it. The main problem is that this thing costs 280 Canadian dollars, which is just way too much for what it is. I mean, you can get something like this Womier keyboard that has been hewn out of a solid block of aluminium, which you could easily use to bludgeon someone to death with for $70 less than this keyboard. And considering that a keyboard doesn't really make any difference to your gaming performance, you may as well go for the slab of aluminium. And aside from this thwack monster, the Keychron K2HE that I use, which is made out of a combination of metal and wood with its magnetic switches, which are awesome because you can set the actuation point in the software. It's also got a whole bunch of gaming cheat features which you can use to get banned from CS2, which I guess means you would game better on the Keychron keyboard. And all of that for 80 Canadian dollars less than the Alienware keyboard. 80! This thing has a serious case of mainstream gaming mechanical keyboard overpricing. But it might not be quite as bad as the headset. And then finally we have the Alienware Pro Wireless headset. They're so blatant with the Logitech copying. But anyway, in terms of first impressions, I'm not a big fan of what it looks like. This gray makes it look like they used actual alien leather to make the headset, which is a little bit weird. But aside from that, its build quality is pretty good. It feels relatively sturdy, and it's very comfortable once you put it on. And they're not too bulky, which in combination with their noise cancelling means that if you have zero shame, you could wear these out in public. On the note of its active noise cancelling, it's not great. It gets humiliated by something like Sony XM4s, but it's nice that the feature's there, I guess. And that's kind of where the positives end on this one, because the sound quality's not very good. The first time I tried them out, I was shocked. They're so bass heavy. Whoa, that is the most wild bass reproduction. It's so flabby and overdone. These are so bad. The standard profile on these are so bass heavy that they make Beats by Dre sound like studio monitors. And that flabby bass drunkenly gets out of its armchair and beats up the mid-range. When I was telling Anna how wild these sound, she initially thought I was exaggerating until she heard them. She was convinced they're broken. At which point I looked at Amazon reviews to see if we were the only ones that were as shocked by these, and I was surprised to see that people seem to really like the way they sound. But before buying another pair to compare it, I plugged it into my system, updated the firmware on it, and I also downloaded the Dolby EQ software for it. Oh, what? How is that balanced? Look at that bump! I mean, maybe they're trying to emulate a Harman curve here, but it sounds so bad. Luckily, when you turn the EQ off, it helps a lot. It evens out the bass, which means that you can actually hear the mid-range, but it's still too bloated sounding in the bottom third of the frequency response. I mean, I guess for gaming it sounds pretty powerful, but even with the EQ removed, you struggle to hear low-lying details over the boominess. But maybe that's just what all wireless gaming headsets sound like. Well, to compare, I also bought these HyperX Cloud Alphas, which sound, in my opinion, better than the Alienware headset. Straight out of the box, their sound is more linear than the Alienware headset, which may make them sound a little bit less powerful initially for gaming, but there's no bloat drowning out other frequencies. Don't get me wrong, they have similar issues to the Alienware headset in terms of pretty narrow soundstage, but that's something that makes sense for close-backed wireless gaming headsets. That's just an inherent weakness of this design. Also, here's a comparison of their microphones. This is an example of what the microphone sounds like on the Alienware headset. I guess I need to speak more to give you some more data, so poopy poop poopy poo 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 poo. And then this is an example of the HyperX headset's microphone, which I actually had to manually lower the levels because stock it was clipping. Wow, they're both complete butt cheeks, okay? Now, other than sound quality, the HyperX headset isn't quite as well built as the Alienware one, although you still have metal end caps on the outsides of the ear cups, and there's like metal yokes holding the ear cups in place, but its leather quality isn't as nice as the Alienware headset, and it's not quite as comfortable. But if these two cost the same, I'd say that I'd prefer the HyperX headset, which is a damning indictment of the Alienware headset, considering that this is half the price. And I unironically think it sounds better than this headset. I don't think it sounds amazing, it's just better than this one. And then when you start bringing proper headphones into the equation, like these PC38Xs or like Beyerdynamic DT770s, both of which are way cheaper than the Alienware headset, things start getting embarrassing. But with that, I think we may have found some overpriced crap. Let me know what you think about this stuff down below. And while you're down there, may as well subscribe to the channel. But anyway, with that, thank you very much for watching, and until the next video, bye-bye.